Thank you very much. I think that's going to, no, we've got one more question from Mr. Van Eaton.
I would like to ask another question, please. All the candidates, when they introduce themselves, emphasize their law enforcement background. But there is another aspect to this job. The Sheriff's Department is a sizable department, 30 deputies, apparently, other staff. So there's a managerial aspect to it, an administrative aspect. So other than the police chief and the current sheriff, the other three candidates emphasize like a patrolman experience and other experience. I would like to know what experience each one of those three people have in terms of administrative or managerial background, other than their law enforcement experience to run this department. What makes you qualified to be the manager, basically?
Okay, I'm going to start with James this time.
You want to know other than
Oh, or did you just address that
well,
question?
no, but he asked for the other three, not me
Oh,
or
okay, I'm
you.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I'll respond, but that's what he asked for.
As a patrol sergeant, I was responsible for assigning deputies, assigning calls, making sure and there was scheduling days on, days off, making sure they had training and so forth. That was as a patrol sergeant. Supervised, you know, there's 3 or 4 sergeants at the time, so we were responsible for whatever we had on that particular shift and making sure that the coverage was there. As a sergeant investigator with the sheriff's office, I was responsible for caseload, but whenever it came to a crime scene, I'm in charge of it, and you assign positions and duties for each particular officer to perform a job whenever you're doing an investigation, because you start mismatching people, you're going to cause problems for your crime scene and your case. But most of the experience came from as the patrol sergeant, just supervising the officers and making sure that they were doing their job performances and vacation and schedules.
Have you ever managed an organization outside law enforcement, any business, anything like that?
Well, back whenever I first got out of high school, I was working at Dairy Queen and I was a supervisor then. I mean, Kingsland's a small town, 1985. That was the only place for a high school student to work. And as soon as I graduated from high school until I went into the military, I was a supervisor at Dairy Queen. I mean, that was a pretty simple job back then. It's a lot different from working here at the sheriff's office. Just like anything else, you learn your job. You have a lot of experience in administration up there at the sheriff's office. You have Donna Roberts, and she is a big help. I know she trained this man whenever he went in, because any position, every place you go to, you're going to have to be trained. You're going to have to learn that department. Every place is different, and any place I've ever been, I've started at the bottom. I've worked my way up. I am not
agencies as part of them. They were scattered not only across the state but across the nation, and I had control of not only them but the money to fund them. The other part about this is, regardless of the situation that I have, when Bill Blackburn came in as sheriff, he was a retired state game warden, and he's done a job for us. There's no doubt about that. He's done a job as sheriff. And I'm willing to learn everything that is necessary to become the best sheriff that I can be for you. One of the things that I do want to comment on, if we talk about community policing, community policing to me means everyone in this room, everyone in this county is involved in their county and the enforcement of laws, and letting each other know, and speaking with one another, and getting along with one another, and getting along with your law enforcement. That's how we're going to continue to have good law enforcement in our community, in our county, is community policing. Let's deal with one another. You need a sheriff that's accessible. You need policies that are accessible so that we can deal with each individual problem as it comes up. Drugs, Kingsland, whatever. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and move on. I know these chairs are hard, and I apologize. And as soon as Mr. Latta answers that question, y'all can stand up and eat. And I'm sure that, I know James has to go to work here in a little bit, drive all the way to San Saba. And then we have Mr. Doughton. He is running for State Senate, District Senate 24. And then we have Chris Fogelberg. He's running.
Side experiences, Sheriff Blackburn's said, I'm a young man, but I have high mileage to be my age. Yes, I have experience in managerial. I've owned my own business. I used to do disaster relief. I did emergency housing for FEMA as a contractor down there on the Gulf Coast. I had employees that I had to manage. I had contracts that we had to manage down there. Once I got married, I no longer wanted to live in a disaster zone, basically in my pickup. So I came back and I took a job for a Fortune 500 company where I was an administrator for Dr. Pepper Snapple. It's a Fortune 500 company. I worked in the world headquarters in Plano, Texas. My title there was Comesco Administrator. That's an acronym for Qualified Medical Child Support Order Administrator. I was the only one for the entire county, for the entire corporation worldwide. When they hired me there, they were receiving fines every day for all the non-compliance that they were. They had no system in place. They had no one to do that job. When I took that position, I want to say that the fine was somewhere close to $7 million a year in fines that they were just paying for non-compliance. Within 30 days of being there, I wiped the non-compliance away. I put a system in place, and I also had people underneath me that helped me work that I had to manage day in and day out. So to answer your question, yes, I've had managerial experience outside of law enforcement. That's why my career is not nearly as long as some of the others. I am only 32. I'll be 33 years old this month. But I am a high mileage 33-year-old. I've done a lot of things. I've been very blessed and very fortunate in my life to be able to do those things.
Okay, we have one more question for the Sheriff's Department, and then Mr. Dowd would like to.
Question, you can answer it, not to go into detail. How do each of you feel about precinct 3 being moved to precinct 2?
Go ahead, then.
As far as how I feel about precinct 3 being moved to precinct 2, I think that's not really a sheriff's issue. I mean, I do feel that if you were talking about precinct 4 where I live, I would have a very strong opinion whether I liked it or not. I would tell you that as a rule, I tend to like, if you're divided into precincts, then that's where you need to be. But to tell you, not talking with the commissioners or the judge or commissioner's court to know why. I mean, I've heard because of money. I think you could argue both sides of money, but I think that it's just that's something that's between precinct 2, 3, and the commissioner's court.
A lot of the last meeting we had, they talked about you voted your commissioner, you voted in your commissioner to do the job for you. I think with the commissioners all that voting it in, they probably felt that they were doing what was right for, as you say, budget. But the thing about it is you're not doing the precinct justice. You have an elderly community over there. Some of them, that extra 5 miles to drive to JP2 where it's at now is going to be hard on them. A lot of them don't even have access to vehicles to go. They take the hot bus. I think they should.
That's the way I either do or don't. And I can relate to it, just like the vehicle policy that's currently being proposed. I was not contacted on it. I was not consulted on it. It's being decided by commissioners who decide that they know everything, and the county judge, that I think that when it has to do with county business, it should be everybody involved. I'm an elected official. I'm just as elected as those commissioners and that judge. I represent the people of the county, just like they're supposed to. When that vehicle policy came out, I was mad as hell because it completely cut into my authority as sheriff and was wanting to transfer a number of things to the county commissioners and the judge, which they have no business running. When the precinct 3 offices were being talked about, it was on the agenda. And when I saw the agenda, it was talking about security. I thought they were talking about security at the courthouses, and I had no idea what it was about.